What goes wrong in landscaping is when it takes 6 weeks and the client doesn't know that. What I really think works in marketing, we need to show people what we can do for them and tell them how it works.
Something's gonna give, you know. It's either I'm gonna keep working 80 hours a week, or you know, the project's gonna go down, or the designs are gonna go down, or like, you know, things are gonna miss.
The downside is that when your project manager is busy, and especially if they're incentivized to be selling, then they may focus more on the selling and less on the project managing.
And maybe I need to look deeper, longer, like I've hired recruiters to try to get project managers. The people who show up at the interview and the people who are on the resume aren't the people that sometimes show up on the project. And so I'm at this point where it's like, well, do I really want to go through that again?
Hey everyone, Jostes here. Right now I'm in Barton Creek, which is just outside of Austin, Texas, and I'm with Jack Williams. He's the owner of Austin Living Landscapes. He's a client of mine at Ramblin Jackson. We've worked together on your website and your SEO, and I'm super thrilled to be here because we've managed your photos and your website, and we've looked at your designs, but now we're here in a property. So I'm excited to have you on the show, Jack.
Yeah, same. I'm excited for you to finally see what you guys and your team have been helping with for these past couple of years.
Yeah, and we're lucking out for now with the weather because it's like perfectly overcast.
Yes.
And it just stopped raining. So everything is like green, it's got some dew on it. Yeah. So let's, we're gonna walk through today. So if you're listening to this episode, I definitely recommend watching this one on YouTube because we're gonna show some photos and videos of this absolutely incredible project. And so before we walk on in, tell us kind of who are you and what's your background?
Sure, yeah, so my name is Jack Williams. I'm the owner of Austin Living Landscapes. My background, I have a degree in landscape architecture from LSU, and I moved to Austin in 2001 and started Austin Living Landscapes about 8 years ago.
Cool. So, and what brought you to Austin from Louisiana?
So I was looking for something a little different than Louisiana at the time, and there was a girl who was here. She happens to be my wife now, 21 years later. So yeah, those two factors brought me over to Austin. Austin seems like a really cool place, and it is.
And is your wife from here?
No, she's not. We just met through mutual friends and just landed here in Austin.
Cool. What's your favorite thing about Austin, Texas?
Oh gosh, probably the hill country. When I was growing up, thinking of Texas in my mind, it was either cowboys and desert or Houston.
Right.
But then you come to Austin and it's like, oh, there's hills in Texas. There's, you know, mountainous green, and yeah.
So are we in hill country right now, would you say?
I think it's probably like the gateway to the hill country.
Okay, that's what I thought, because it is pretty hilly here already. Even just driving in here is different. And I think I'm going to head even further into the hills after this. I'm out here speaking about recruiting at a agency mastermind. So would Lakeway be considered hill country? Am I going to go through the hills to get there? Because it's kind of west of Austin.
Right. Yeah. You'll definitely hit some hills. Keep going west, and then you're definitely going to be right in it.
So Jack, we're standing in front of this retaining wall, and my understanding is that this was actually already here before you did your part. So kind of tell us a little bit about the background about this property.
Yeah, so the clients engaged with an architect, and they had a custom builder build the house. They sited the home, and they had to set up these retaining walls to level out and create the foundation of it. Prior to this lot was just covered with cedars and old growth, so they had to pull all that out. We had these retaining walls in place, and then they had a previous builder grade contractor that just like put up these evergreens, and you couldn't see the house. Everything was blocked in.
So there were trees where, what are these?
These are called yucca rostradas.
Yucca rostradas?
Yes. Yep.
They're cool. How tall will those get?
So
when they're full grown?
So those will, in this area, they'll probably get like 15, 20 feet tall, but they're very slow growing. So it's like each one of, you know.
So these were previously, there were evergreens kind of blocking the whole house.
Yeah,
Tell
blocking
us,
the house.
what are some of the plants that you have in here, and why did you pick them?
Yeah, so this is what we call the butterfly garden, and because of the massive droughts and then extreme temperatures that we have, we wanted to go native. And the owners also wanted to be mindful of butterflies and butterfly garden. So we created this butterfly garden here. We use mist flower, different types of salvias. We've got the yuccas in for like some architectural interest. And yeah, and what it does, it just creates this wonderful small little habitat for hummingbirds, bees, the monarch butterflies that fly right through Austin every year. So it creates this wonderful habitat, and also it's just beautiful with really low maintenance, really low watering. So I think it was a wise planting decision for this part of the art. All right, so one of the things I like to implement in my designs is there's a few different principles of design. So there's line, color, form, and texture. And so thinking of these things, I just wanted to kind of show what goes in the thought process of this. So we have these wonderful lines of this retaining wall that's sort of drawing all the way around the property. And then you've got these nice architectural features of these yucca rostratas that just create some form and rhythm throughout the design. And then we have colors, so we have these chartreuse colored greens, and then the light blue of the mist flower that sort of accents against the red, so it really helps these two kind of pop and play together. And then we have some subtle whites, the white guara, that work together as well. So with this entrance, you can kind of see the rhythm of like the reds every 2 or 3 different plants, to where you end up like getting this color scheme going of the reds and then the light blues, and then even bookending down with the white guaras down at the end. So you end up kind of encompassing all the different things of like the line, color, form, and texture, to where there really is some thought behind what we're doing, rather than just taking a dozen different plans and just throwing them in, seeing what works.
All right, so Jack, now we're in the backyard. Tell me a little bit about how you created a sense of privacy back here.
Yeah, so so this is residential neighborhood, so they have neighbors on both sides of it. But one of the things that we wanted to do was to get full privacy from the ground all the way up. So we selected to use Arizona cypress, which is a very drought tolerant, fast growing evergreen that would really kind of work. So we planted these all along the side there, created a hedgerow of these Arizona cypress, and they really took off. They're liking it. Creates the privacy that they need for swimming.
And they're, I don't know, 20 feet tall now?
Yeah.
So how tall were they when you planted them, and how tall will they get?
Yeah, so we planted them and they were probably 8 footers, and that was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And then they really just had
they survived the Great Texas Freeze of 2021. Did anything have to be replanted?
We did have to do some replantings because it was such a crazy thing, and we also had to come in and do a lot of tree trimming. We brought an arborist in here and just really took care of these oaks. Yeah.
Well, there's definitely a lot of mature trees here, and it looks like everything generally made it.
Yes.
Which is incredible that plants can do that. So then we're looking this way, and a few hundred yards, to the east of us is a golf course. And tell us a little bit what's going on there. So there's a fence, and then what's on the other side of the fence? Yeah,
so there's a fence, but their property still continues to go about another 100 feet or so. So in this back area, we created some compost piles, created some wildflower seeding, and really just started to try to bring back the native habitat from what it was, trying to get rid of noxious weeds and volunteer trees. And so we have Indian paintbrush and Salvia farinaceas. We had some bluebonnets that everyone in Texas loves. And so it's been a really nice
is that a bluebonnet right there?
That's actually a salvia. So
okay, so where is the blue? I don't think I've seen a bluebonnet. I've seen streets named bluebonnet. I've seen everyone mentioning it. I want to see one.
You gotta go back in time 2 weeks.
Okay.
You just missed it.
Oh, I just missed it.
You just missed
All
it.
right.
Yes, yeah. You might see one on like the tail end of something, but yeah, unfortunately I can't help you.
Is that a real popular plant in this area?
Yes, yeah. So bluebonnets in the Texas Hill Country are they're all along the roadside. I think that I read a stat that said The TxDOT, the Department of Transportation, puts like 30,000 pounds of seed a year throughout Central Texas and, you know, all the way out to West Texas of the bluebonnet. It's the state flower. They love it as much as they love barbecue.
So Jack, we are standing in like a creek that you built here. Tell me about the drainage needs for this property. We're on a hill. We're definitely on the side of a hill.
Yeah.
What happens when it rains, and how have you designed this backyard to manage that?
Yeah, this property slopes from top to bottom, and then it also has a cross slope coming down from the neighborhood. So they receive everyone's runoff, and then it all just flows down. So we had a few huge rain events a couple years ago, and we really had to do something about it. So the client called us in, and then we created these dry creek beds that really just carried all the water, discharged everything from their house, discharged everything up the hill, and created these big wide creek beds that get the water, run it into the actual Barton Creek.
Oh, so it literally ends in Barton Creek.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you had to expand it at one point.
Yes. Yeah. So we had this huge rain event. We thought that we were big enough on the volume that it could carry. And then we noticed that we had additional washout from the beds on either side. So we had to widen it even further and make it even deeper just so it could carry all that water through. We use locally sourced river rock from the Colorado River here, and then we use existing stones on the property to create the edges, put some boulders in there for interest, and then put some native plants on the side to help soften it up.
And how has it worked out?
It's worked out great so far. Yeah, it's like third time's a charm.
Right.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. So there's rock. What is this, river rock, or what is this?
Yeah, so this is river rock, and then we use various sizes because if you use too small of river rock, the water will just pick it up. And
is this imported from Colorado, or where does this rock actually come from?
This comes from, so we have a Colorado River here in Central Texas, and so it is sifted through at the bottom of the Colorado River and then cleaned up, and then that's what we use mostly for our mulches and ground covers.
All right, so finally we're sitting next to this fire pit. Mm-hmm. There's this incredible pool. Yeah. Is there a hot tub there?
I think so, yes. Yeah.
So this was all built by the original builder though?
Yes, yeah, the builder, yeah.
But I like it, and it's cool to be here between the oak trees and the dry creek and the cypress over here. You really do feel privacy here. You feel secluded, even though the neighbors are relatively close. So I love it. So I think you've done an incredible job.
Thank you.
And it's cool to just hang out and see one of your spaces.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoy, we've worked with these clients over the years, and I really enjoy just coming and walking through with them and then seeing how everything has developed over the years and what else we can do to kind of just maximize the already beautiful area that it is.
Yeah. So Jack, you've been in business for 8 years.
Yep.
When we started working together, I think you were around 1.2 million,
yep.
and then broke 1.5, did 1.8.
Yep.
And your ring the bell goal with Ramblin Jackson is to break $2 million.
That's right.
And so what are you seeing that needs to change in the business? So you've started it, you've been kind of doing the sales, the project management, the designs.
Yes.
And that's a lot of revenue to be doing this. So tell us, the audience, what's going on and how are you hoping to get to that next level?
Yeah, it's been wearing a lot of hats with doing everything myself, and I have a couple of people that work part-time for me, one person who's full-time, but it's having to touch every different aspect of the project and of the and the life cycle of a project, and then in addition to like just the actual running a company, running a business, something's going to give. It's either I'm going to keep working 80 hours a week, or the project's going to go down, or the designs are going to go down, or things are going to miss. So it's So I think at this point, I need to figure out whether I'm going to hire a designer to come in and actually, take the leads and do the designs from start to finish, or hire a project manager to oversee the designs. And so sometimes I'll think about, what do you do first? Like, where do you put the cart before the horse,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm pretty sure everyone listening, including me, has gone through this phase in business. And surprisingly, you were just asking, I have over 100 clients all over the country, and surprisingly, none of them do it the same way. I actually, believe it or not, of all of my clients, none of them really do the exact same services. And the way that they do sales, design, and project management varies greatly. So I think there are a few different models that work. One is the salesperson is the designer, is the project manager. So I do have a number of clients who do that. And I think the benefit to the client is that they build this relationship with the designer. They have really good communication. There's less risk of miscommunication and like a handoff from a sales and designer to somebody else. The downside is that when your project manager is busy, and especially if they're incentivized to be selling, then they may focus more on the selling and less on the project managing. And then that can create the problem of the client not getting the communication they need and the
Right.
And
I know. It's a big balancing act. And I also, and this might just be in my head, but thinking that can someone who is design oriented, not saying can someone, because it's probably possible, of course it is, because I do it, but like someone who's like design oriented may not be the best project management oriented, to where it's like there's.
I believe that's true.
Right?
I think that's the nature of a salesperson is different, and it's conflicting with the project manager, because the salesperson is wanting to sell things and open new things, and the project manager is like wanting to complete things. And so does that ever like stress you out?
Yeah, well, and I think I'm laughing because I think I do both. Like I am that person to where.
Well, so you're also the owner of the company. So there is that. And it's not to say, I'm sure there are people listening who are like, no, dude, I do both. And you can do both. I just think that they require different skills.
It is.
And different focuses and different amount of energy and bandwidth.
Absolutely.
And that's just a risk of that model. But I have a lot of clients who do it, and their clients love it and they're thrilled with it. And then I know some people who shave off certain parts of it. And so that's what I'm wondering for you is, you're wearing many hats. Could someone else wear one of them? Maybe you don't need somebody who wears all of the hats all of a sudden, but could you bring somebody on who is there like an administrative part of the sale that, somebody else could do for you? Because can we talk about the timeline for your sales right now? So from phone rings, or you get a lead through your website, you have an initial conversation. What are kind of what happens next, and how long does it take?
So the timeline, we get a phone call, we follow up with email, send a questionnaire out, and then we schedule a time for an initial consult. Once we have a consult, then we can determine, if it's going to be a design fee associated with it, so like a full-on design, and then from a design, then we have to go back out again to do inventory and analysis, check grades, shoot grades, kind of develop more of the actual property itself. After
you've been paid?
Yes.
Okay, good. So that's part of the design.
So there's a design agreement. So the way we tell people, it's two proposals. One, you're going to get a proposal for design services, and then the other proposal for installation services. So it's design and build. And then we go do the concept drawing, meet the clients, make sure that we're kind of run it up the flagpole, make sure that it's checking all of their boxes that we want, go over, different materials and images. We go back, fine tune the design, refine it a little bit more, and then put together a proposal for install. but like the life cycle of that could be like 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. And I think some of that is, you know, we just get too busy being in the
Right.
field or actually putting together estimates, and you gotta like get a sub out to a property to take a look at it,
Right.
because they're not gonna bid off of drawings because,
Sure.
you know, they're
Well,
subs.
so is this a problem, or like or do you just feel like it's slow, or like is this just how long it takes?
I feel like it's slow
Uh-huh.
personally. It hasn't. I don't think it's cost us many jobs. Like I don't
Yeah.
study the metrics of that. So like I don't think it's cost us many, but also at the same time it's like I want to get the client like you know, you meet with them the first time, they're super happy, super excited, yeah, let's go. And then it's like 6 weeks later and it's like, okay, all right, now we're ready to build it. And then,
Yeah.
you know.
I think there's a couple thoughts that I have. Is one, I think you should count it, because if you started counting how long it takes,
Yeah.
and like sharing this with your team,
Yeah.
and counting, like you can arrive at a standard, and like, hey, we need to get this done in this amount of time, and then you can tell your client that. And I think what goes wrong in landscaping is when it takes 6 weeks and the client doesn't know that. Right. So if they're expecting 2 and you're taking 6,
Yeah.
that creates a problem.
Yes.
But if you're telling them, hey, this typically takes 4 to 8 weeks,
Right.
and it's on your website and it's on a video and it's in the first conversation, and they're like, yeah,
We get it.
cool,
Yeah.
thanks. And then you come in at 6 weeks, they're like, oh, it's 2 weeks shorter than 8,
Right.
and they're stoked.
Yeah,
so
sure.
so part of me is like, maybe that's just how long it takes. Part of me is also wondering, are you communicating with your clients that this is how long it takes?
No.
No.
I mean, I think we talked through it probably the same way I just stumbled
Yeah.
it to you, right? So it's like, I'll explain these things, and in my mind, it's like, oh, inventory and analysis, concept, design revisions.
Yeah.
And it's like, that might just be like a rock on a pond. It might just skip over,
Yeah.
not even resonate.
What I really think works in marketing, we need to show people what we can do for them and tell them how it works. And then in selling, we show people what we can do for them and tell them how it works. And as long as that aligns with the operations of what we actually do,
Yeah.
then people, as long as they are listening and we remind them of like, this is how long it takes,
Right.
they'll probably be pretty happy. Because I mean, to do a project like this, I would be surprised that you could design something like this in less than 6 weeks for a property this size.
For sure.
Now, I also know that this is one of the biggest and best
Yeah.
out there, right? And I want you to get more of them. But you also do smaller projects, and that's good. And those probably don't need to take 6 weeks.
That's right. Yes. And you know, Jack, even like the smaller projects, those as I'm saying all this, like I know I'm the bottleneck in most
Yeah.
of this, because it's like either I'll go out and do a consultation or a site assessment, or someone else on my team will go and do a site assessment and a consultation, but then it has to be kicked back to me to, you know, design it, draw it out, give suggestions of man hours and building out the proposal
Yeah.
and everything. So like if I had probably somebody else on my team who could do that,
Which part?
the designing and understanding how long it would take for something to be done, bidding, you know, design and bidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one model. So I shared there's the full from sales to design to project management model that some people have. I think then there's parsing out part of it, and maybe there's an assistant. Is there stuff that someone else could be like, cool, Jack, I'm gonna take away 12 hours a week of stuff that you're doing,
Right.
just so that way you're just fat. You're like, wow, maybe you don't even use the 12 hours. Maybe you're like, cool, I work 68 now, and like, I'm stoked.
Right.
Or maybe you're like, I'm gonna fill that up with something more productive. I know somebody who has a principal in their company who is a design manager. And so they don't have any employees who do any of the landscaping, any of the construction. It's all subs.
Okay.
And he has a principal, but this person has sales skills.
Yep.
Right? And they can manage the client, but that's the difference, is that's all they're doing. they're not actually designing it.
So we've tried through like Fiverr and Upwork and a few different places to find people to do that. And it took us a while, but I think, fingers crossed, we landed on someone that we can kick over an old survey to, and then they could give us a base map, and then I draw on top of it, and then I kick it over to them, and then they produce it back. I think that's still, me saying this is saying I'm still in the way. Whereas like if I could just give it to someone to help them manage, like just to let them do it with just a little bit of guidance, as opposed to me just feeling like I've got to be in every single part of it.
But this is the project management model. Could you sell the project and then introduce your project manager, and then they manage the client moving forward, and maybe you come do some site visits?
So I've hired and fired project managers before. It's like the people, you know, and maybe I need to look deeper, longer, like I've hired recruiters to try to get project managers. The people who show up at the interview and the people who are on the resume aren't the people that sometimes show up on the project.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, where'd that happen? So it ends up costing their salary plus wasted hours and time. And so I'm at this point where it's like, well, do I really want to go through that again?
Well, I have hired the wrong fit before too, in the project manager role and other roles, and it happens, and it's very expensive and frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
I actually hired someone for a position, and they were great at the client part. They could do sales, they understood marketing, but they couldn't type on a computer. They typed with 2 fingers. And so the nature of what we do is we write stuff for clients. We're like making pages for you. And there's a lot of typing that needs to happen to like meet with Jack Williams, type up my notes. Like I read all.
It's like a journalist in the 50 you hired or something?
No, this person was like pretty close to my age actually.
I get it.
And but I didn't really think about that. I assumed that they had all these skills, and then when we were working, I'm like, look, I need these things like in this time frame after a meeting with the client, so the rest of us can take what you met with Jack about, Jack the client, you know, and we're going to go work on this. And so there's a lot of like typing, and so that was part of how I, you know, then so basically what I'm getting at is we've added skills assessments as part of our process. So that way when you apply there, and like if there's a like requirement, it is a like rate this, and it actually says, thank you, we're currently not accepting applicants who don't have a 3 or above Google Drive. And Jack, this also saved me because a friend of mine applied and was like, hey, I don't have any Google Drive experience, but I'm really good. And I'm like, hey, and then I was able to just refer to that question and say, hey, thank you so much. What we found is this is a requirement, and I don't know that this would be a good fit for either of us. So when you learn that skill, we'd love to have you interview later. So it didn't make it personal. It was just like, look, this is part of the job. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being like, I've heard that plants are green most of the time, and like 5 being, you know, I studied horticulture. What level of plant knowledge do you need that you couldn't teach? What do you need out of the gate for this person?
At least a 3.
Okay.
Okay,
good. So you could say if they select 2 or 1, thank you so much. We're currentently looking for somebody who, whatever. I did this with a tree care company, and they need to know chainsaw skills. They need to know, can you drive a trailer? And then they have a box for, are you ISA certified? And that way, when they get an applicant who has chainsaw skills, who knows how to back up a trailer, that has a driver's license, that's ISA certified, like, you better bet I'm like, you need to call that person instantly, because that guy's gonna get a job somewhere fast.
For sure.
I believe this person's out there for you, and that we need to think about what skills do they need to have, what could we teach them, but what do we need to have, and then how can we interview for them?
I love that. I mean, because then it reduces the amount of, I guess, resume or applicants you have to like filter through. And then it gets you somebody a little more dialed into the need that
Yeah.
we have. For us to get to 2 million, because I feel like we're at 1.8, but like that's a bumpy 1.8.
Yeah.
Like it was bumpy to get there.
For sure.
Like it just drains, and it's like it's not fun. But if we could just smooth it out, implement some of these systems, get some right people in place, even if it stays at 1.8 or 1.5, if it's profitable, then a 1.5 profitable is much better than a bumpy 2. I take the smooth 1.5 any day.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, getting clear on some of these things and having somebody help me put these systems into place, it's huge. That's what's needed.
Cool, Jack. Well, thanks for coming on the Landscaper's Guide. It's been fun
man.
looking at this property with you, seeing what you do, and
Thanks
talking
so much.
through some of this.
Yeah, this has been great. I can't wait to hear it, see how much I sound not like myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, when you watch yourself on video or hear yourself, it does feel weird.
Yeah. No, I look forward to it.
Thanks so much for checking out the Landscaper's Guide. I hope you enjoyed seeing this epic landscape in Austin, Texas, and hearing a bit about some of the challenges that landscape companies face while growing. So make sure that you like this video and subscribe to our channel for more sales, marketing, and leadership content to help you grow your snow and landscape company. My name's Jack Jostes, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Landscaper's Guide. Go ahead and click the link for this next episode.